Welcome to Spine Care Foundations. I'm Jeanette Connery, your teacher, and today's class we'll be focusing a lot on the hamstrings. So really glad that you are all here, and we're going to be using a chair, 2 blocks, and a strap-like device. Starting out lying down on the floor. Now, some people really don't like being just flat on the floor. It's a little harsh. So if that's you, maybe you can do this on carpet or put some blankets underneath you. So I'm just going to start with the legs on a chair, resting on the floor, finding that flatness. The floor is a wonderful place to show your body a reference point for good posture. And as you take a breath and let it go slowly through your nose, you might even feel your upper back releasing, flattening out a little. Most of us have an exaggerated curve in that upper back. So this is another good way to start to work through that. Think about your low back. You feel your sacrum on the floor and the gentle pressure that you have with your body weight pressing the back of your pelvis down. Allowing your low back to relax and release. The weight of your legs pressing deeply into the hip sockets. Feel a insinuation of a sensation, a subtleness of widening on your pelvis. You can even take your hands on the front of your pelvis and really low belly. Start in the center and work your hands out to the sides like this. Just working out the tightness that we carry in that low belly, spreading out wide. Good, so now we're going to work the upper body, shoulders, upper back a little, just to get everything warm and loose. We're going to interlace the fingers, inhale the arms up overhead. And if it's comfortable and your shoulders say it's okay, you can even touch the floor here. And as you exhale, bring the hands back to the starting point. Inhale, hands go up. Exhale, hands come back. And if there's a shoulder, a creakiness or some sort of sensation, pinching happening, try to go up to the bottom of that pain sensation and then melt away. So that you're not going into pain. You're doing as much movement as possible without going there. And this distracts your nervous system from the limitation and emphasizes the possibilities. Right? So now let's take the feet to the edge of the chair. Push that chair away. Okay, and next, we'll just do some gentle heel slides. This is to warm up the psoas muscle in the front of the hip and the quads. So as you inhale, let the heel slide all the way out, straightening your heel. And then as you exhale, slide that heel back up again towards your butt. Inhale. So as you're straightening your leg, think about squeezing your butt cheeks here. Just the one on the leg that you're straightening. So we're really working the hip extensors to extend the leg. And bring the knee, the foot up. Just a few more times here. Another thing to add on, flex your quads. So you're flexing your quads on the front of the thigh and your glutes on the back of the hip at the same time. Reaching long through that heel. Let's make this the last one. Really reach long through that heel, squeeze your bottom, squeeze your quads. Make sure your toes are pointing right up at the ceiling, not to the sides. And then we'll bring that back up and rest the foot on the floor. We'll try the other side. Inhale, the heel slides out. Squeeze your glute, squeeze your quad, and reach long through that heel. Exhale. Bring it back up. Stay focused here on the movement. And you might notice that your pelvis, if you're not really stable, your pelvis might be shifting around, rocking side to side as you move your leg. So use your abdominals here to stabilize. So we don't want the pelvis moving, just the hip. Squeeze the glute, reach long, turn on your quads, and pull it back up. We'll just do 2 more. Good. So now bring your knee, whichever knee you started with, for me it's the left, bring that in towards your chest. Interlace your fingers around that knee and see if you can pull that knee up towards the nipple on that same side. Okay, so we're not letting the knee go out towards the armpit, and that is the tendency for a lot of people who are very tight in the hips. So we want to try to bring that leg straight in. That means it's touching your belly, it's touching your rib cage, and it's pointing right up at just to the side of the center line of the body. Okay. Now, if it feels good for you, and for many people this does feel good, you can straighten out your opposite leg. And if you try it and you don't like it, you can always bring that leg back up by pulling in your abdominal muscles and sliding the heel back up to the starting position. One more deep breath here. And as you exhale, release all effort from your hip, from your back. Okay, and now release that foot down to the floor. We're going to bring the opposite knee in now. So for me, it's my right. Doesn't matter which one here. Okay, we're pulling that knee in. And again, just shy of the center line of the body, not to the armpit. And if it feels good, go ahead and stretch out your opposite leg. Use your breath here to relax your low back, to relax your shoulders and jaw. And feel a stretching sensation in the front of your straight leg. Okay. Now we can release that foot to the floor. And I wanted to just do some supine hip abduction, more heel sliding. But this time the leg's going to slide out to the sides. And we're keeping the toes pointing right up at the ceiling. Now, this is a really important point that I have to spend a little extra time on. Your brain will tell you your toes are pointing up at the ceiling when they're not. In order for you to get the full benefit of this pose, you're going to have to rotate from the hip in a way that feels a little bit too much internally rotated, a little bit pigeon-toed, if you like. So let's try it. Inhale, bring your left leg out to the side, rotating slightly inward from the hip. And you should feel a really intense contraction in the muscles on the side of your hip here. We're holding for 5 seconds and then we'll bring it back to the center. Okay, we're going to do that 4 more times on this side. So inhale, bring the leg out to the side. You can even look at your toes, make sure they're pointing straight up at the ceiling, and try not to cheat by trying to rotate from the ankle. Let this come from your hip. Bring it back to the center. Just 3 more. Inhale out to the side. Use your abdominals here to stabilize your spine. So your spine should be arching just a little bit away from the floor like a rainbow in your low back. Bring the foot back. Just 2 more. Inhale out to the side. And when you move your leg, your pelvis should be very still. There should be no movement. Okay, last one. Ready? We're bringing the foot back and inhale. Foot goes out to the side. Good. Okay. So let's bring the soles of the feet onto the floor, take them wide, and do just a little bit of windshield wiper movement here. And if you have low back injuries, don't do a big twist here. Just move the hips a little, rock side to side across your sacrum, get a little massage. We're just kind of working out the tension that we built up in that hip before we move over to the other side. So now we're taking both legs out straight on the mat, and we'll do the same exact thing on the right leg. Inhale. The foot out to the side, toes pointing up. Squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring it back in on the exhale. Inhale, leg comes out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back in. Okay, here comes number 3. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back. Number 4. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back. And last one. Inhale, the leg goes out to the side. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back. Very good. Same thing, we're bringing the feet up onto the floor. Take those feet wide, about as wide as your mat, and let the knees go in and out. Good. So what's next on my plan, on my agenda here? Okay, we're going to come to all fours. So shift your hips to the side, whichever side, and then you roll over onto your side without twisting. We stay here for one breath. Okay, and then we come up onto the hands and knees. So if your knees are sensitive, please put a towel or a blanket underneath your knees. All right. Now, the wrists are directly beneath the shoulders and the fingers are spread wide. The knees are directly beneath the hips. And if you have a mirror, you can look in the mirror to see that there should be a lot of space in your back. If the hands and the knees are too close together, things get crunched up. We're looking to create some space here. So maybe if you're practicing with a partner, they can be your eyes for you. We're going to go through the spinning wheel movement. So inhale, lengthen your spine by pulling your shoulders down away from your ears, pulling through the hands to lengthen through the crown of your head, while you simultaneously reach through your tailbone for the foot of the mat. And as you exhale, shift your hips back over your heels, elbows come down, forehead comes down onto the floor. Okay, inhale up. Now that's this movement, it's very simple. Inhale up and lengthen, exhale back. So if you have, for example, bulging discs or stenosis, and you're trying really hard not to round your back, that might be hard in this move. So what you can do is take your knees wide, and as you shift back, it's a little bit easier to keep that lumbar spine protected. Okay, and you can still get the benefit of stretching and lengthening, moving with the breath. Last one, exhale back and inhale up. Okay, so let's move to downward facing dog. And for this one, I'm going to actually encourage you to use a block between your thighs. This helps to keep the hips in good alignment, to keep the hips neutral. Those of us who have really tight hips, the tendency will be for the knees to want to go out to the sides. The block is going to help with that. So same hand position, fingers spread, only the hands are a bit further up the mat. You can see they're no longer under my shoulders. Okay, you're going to roll your shoulders back and down and really press into the mat, especially through the thumb and forefinger of your hand. Take a breath, and as you exhale, pull your belly button up and then lift your knees off the floor. We're just giving this a try here, and then inhale, bring the knees back down. So we're going to do it again, and this time you can go all the way up if it feels right, or if it doesn't, you can just stay hovering your knees over the floor and coming up and down. So exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, Bring your knees down. We're going to flow in and out of down dog. On the exhale, we go lift. On the inhale, we come down. And the reason for this is we're still warming up. And as you start to feel warm, you start to feel your joints moving a little bit more easily, your muscles are feeling a little more engaged, you can start to hold your downward facing dog if that's what you want to do. Okay. Some of us are still building the strength in the wrists and the shoulders. So if that's the case, you can just keep moving in and out like I am right now. So if you're holding your downward facing dog, try bending your knees if you're experiencing a lot of tension in the back of the body. Bend the knees and point the tailbone right up at the sky. All the while, you're still pressing into the mat through the thumb and the forefinger, pulling the belly button up. And pull your ribs down, the bottom ribs in front, pull them down towards your pubic bone a little. And some of us like to really pop our chest out in this pose. Try not to do that. Okay, and now we're ready to come back down. And remove the block from between your legs. Walk your hands all the way to the top of your mat. Grip the mat firmly with your hands and shift your hips back. Cup the mat and pull through your hips, lengthening out your underarms and the sides of your body. Your forehead can rest on the floor here. We're just going to take one last deep inhale. Feel the two sides of the rib cage move away from each other. And as you exhale, feel them come back in towards the center. Good. We're coming back up now. And we're going to move into a low lunge position. So you'll need both blocks on the high setting. And let's take the left leg and put it on the mat right in front, okay? So from this position, think about moving your left hip back, okay, and lengthening up tall through your spine. So you can put your hands on your hips and push down on your hips and try to lengthen yourself really tall. And then we're going to shift forward into the lunging position. As you can see, the knee does not go out past the ankle. Place your hands on the blocks, and now you're kind of leaning over. So if leaning over like this is not working for your back today, if you have any discomfort in this position, you can come back to being upright like this, okay? So we're practicing this low lunge because it's really stretching the front here, the quad in the back leg, but it's also really working the mobility in the front of the hip on that left leg. So as you press your hands into the blocks, bring your shoulders down away from your ears, use a little bit of activation into the blocks towards the foot of your mat. So you're sort of pulling the blocks down, your shoulders down, and reaching through the top of your head. Your chin is slightly tucked. The back of the neck is long. We can actually feel the lats here. We try to lengthen the spine. Okay, good. And now we'll move up to the kneeling position with the leg in front. I'll move my block so you can see my leg. And we're going to put the hands on the hips again, check in with that left hip, make sure it's pulled back, pull the belly in, press down into your hips and lengthen through the back of your body. Now you can inhale and bring your right arm up overhead and squeeze your right butt cheek. Okay, and maybe even lean over a little to the left. Just a little. And then bring that hand down. Okay. And we're ready to come back to center before we do the other side. So we can do that with child's pose. Okay. So choose your knee position here based on what you need for your spine. Wide knees to protect an injured spine. Come down onto the mat. Your hands can go under your forehead like mine are right now, or they can stretch out on the mat ahead of you. One breath into your ribs, the side ribs, feel them move out to the sides, and then on the next inhale, we come up, and we'll do this whole sequence on the other side. So now we're putting the right leg forward. Okay. Set this up, so put your blocks on either side of the leg. Put your hands on your hips. Press that right hip back. And the reason for this is whenever we go into a lunge, that hip really wants to come forward, right? So we're bringing some awareness to that, and we are moving that back. Okay, press down into your hips to lengthen up tall. Lean forward into your lunge. See that your knee and your ankle are aligned. Hands on the blocks. And pull the blocks down. Pull your shoulders down. Lengthen your head. The back of your neck is long. And think about your foot for a second. Where are you pushing into the earth through your foot? Is your foot rolling out to one side or the other? If it is, try to come back to the center. You can press into the mat through the big toe mound. Okay, lift your toes maybe. Lengthen your toes out and then set them back down on the floor. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to come back up to our kneeling position. Don't need the blocks anymore. Check in with that right hip again. Make sure it's back because it always wants to creep up. Press down into your hips, lengthen, and inhale, lift the left arm. Squeeze your left butt cheek. Press into the floor through the right foot. Lean over just a little to your right. Stretching out the front of your left hip. Take one more breath here. And bring that arm down. Good. Now let's come back down to all fours. We will come back into child's pose one more time. And now we're going to make our way onto the belly. So bring your elbows down and then walk your knees back. Lay your tummy down on the floor. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to twist the back. When you have a low back injury, you don't ever want to twist the low back, but we still want to have twists in our day-to-day life. They're really healthy, especially for the upper back. If you twist your upper back regularly, it can help alleviate shoulder and neck pain. So we're going to be up on, actually, let's do this first. We want to lengthen out. So place your hands, stack your hands on top of each other. Put your forehead there on top of the hands. Lift your right foot and just reach long through that right leg. And then lift your left foot, reach long through your left leg. And now you should feel like your low back is, I don't know, 1/4 to 1/2 inch longer, right? Now we're coming up onto the elbows. We have a lot more space in that low back. So I do know that there are people for whom this is really uncomfortable in the low back. It feels really pinchy. So if that's you, you can come down a little lower like this. It'll be a much smaller movement for you, but you'll still get some benefit, okay? Right. So here's the twist. We've got the elbows right underneath the shoulders, okay? And we're gonna dip the shoulder down to the center. And we're going to dip the other shoulder down to the center. And this is a little side bend and a little twist at the same time. And of course, if for any reason you feel uncomfortable in this movement, you don't do it, right? Number one rule in all of my yoga classes, no pain allowed. You are not required to do what I say just because I'm the teacher. Okay, so after we've done that a few times, we can even try a little neck stretch, right? So we're going to come back to center, bring the shoulders down away from your ears here, and then just drop your head. Okay. Next, we're going to be working the back. And we're going to be working the hips at the same time, okay? So we're going to start with locust pose, a variation with just the leg movement. So stack your hands on top of each other again. Put your forehead there on your hands. And I'm going to ask you to lift your right leg away from the floor just about an inch, okay? And what you want to feel here is your butt muscles turning on. And if you're not feeling that, try turning your leg in from the hip. Rotate your hip inward a little. You want the front of your thigh and the front of your foot shining towards the floor. And once you do that, you'll definitely feel activation all the way from your hip down into the hamstrings. And let's put that leg down. We're going to try the other side, okay? So inhale, lift the left leg. And we're reaching long. So we're not letting the low back crunch up here or curl up. We're trying to keep the low back long, and you can facilitate that even more by pulling your abdominal muscles in. Really feeling the gluteal muscles, the hamstrings, and putting the leg down. Okay. So now let's try that again, and you have the option of doing a very small lift like we just did, or trying to lift a little bit higher. Okay. And I think we're going to speed it up, okay? You're going to lift, lower, and switch sides. So inhale, lift the left leg. Exhale, lower. One more time on each side. Okay, and now rest for a second while I tell you your next option. So your next option is going to involve adding some arm movements to this if you choose to do that. So that I'll show you what that looks like. You can slide your hands out on the floor in front of you, okay? And we don't want to put a kink in the neck by looking up here. So keep the back of the neck long. You can look at the floor about 12 to 18 inches in front of your face. I wouldn't look any further than that. So as we inhale, you can either keep doing the legs as we were just doing, or if you want to add the arms, you're lifting the right leg and the left arm. Lowering down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. So now you can join me with your chosen movement, either just the legs or the legs and arms. Now, if you choose to try the arms and it doesn't feel right, you can always just go back. So as you lift, you're reaching diagonally here. You're reaching through your hand and you're reaching through your foot. So we're turning on the muscles of the back and lengthening the back at the same time. Really encouraging strength, stability, a tall posture. Neutral spine. Make sure your abdominal muscles are working here, countering your back bend. So the spine is going backwards and we're using the abdominals to pull it forwards, creating as much efficiency in this movement as we can, working the core on all sides. Last one here. And now let's rest the hands on the head again. Okay, bend the knees so your feet are in the air, and then let your feet go side to side. Here's another very, very gentle twisting type motion. It doesn't actually twist your spine, but it's alternately stretching the two sides. Okay, and we'll come back up. First onto the elbows, then to the hands and knees. We'll do that spinning wheel move again. So exhale back. Inhale up. Exhale back. Inhale up. Last time. Good. All right. Now we're going to do something similar from the downward facing dog position. So walk your hands up the mat. Tuck your toes, take a breath. As you exhale, lift your knees, excuse me, and set up your hands. Where are you putting pressure there, huh? Okay, set up your legs. Do I need my block to keep my knees in? Ask yourself. Am I experiencing a lot of tension in the back of my legs? If you are, you can bend your knees, point your tailbone at the ceiling. The idea of this pose is to get as much straightness and length in your back as possible. So we're going to come down and rest for just a second. And then we're going to go back up and I'm going to show you. So maybe you want to watch first. Okay. From the down dog position, I'm just going to lift a leg with the same alignment that we've been using all along throughout the whole class, that slightly internally rotated thigh. We can put that down and try the other side. So what you're feeling here is, you know, the gluteal muscle coming on, a slight lengthening in the quads, okay? And you can stay in your down dog and keep switching sides like that, or you can do a long hold. I'm gonna give you the choice. Consider this your yoga free play for the day. Experiment with that move. And something else, yes, I forgot to mention, excuse me, you want to keep your hips level. So you will not want to do this. Definitely not, okay? Keeping the hips level. Now, if the down dog isn't working for you, maybe it's your shoulder, maybe it's your wrist, I don't know. Could be anything, right? You have other options. You can do it like this. From the neutral all fours position, bringing your leg out behind you, reaching long through that heel. Okay, and yet another option. Full of options today. I hope you're just moving along, moving and grooving while I'm talking, because if you've already found your ideal movement, just do that. Here's another option. So this is for people who have a wrist problem, or possibly even an elbow problem. Okay. It's pretty good. All right. Now it seems like we are ready to move to standing. So I'm going to have you do this. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Place your foot on the mat in front of you. Both hands on that thigh, tuck your back toes. And if balance is an issue for you, make sure you're near a chair or a wall so you can grab on for some assistance. And you're just gonna lift up. Okay, good. Hello there. All right, so let's work some more with the block between the thighs. I really like this as a tool for hip alignment and activation. Point your toes forward, okay? Roll your shoulders back. Put a soft bend in your knees. Pull your belly in. Lengthen your tailbone down towards the floor. So as you pull your belly in, you should feel your pelvis move slightly back. That's for most people, right? Most people have a tendency to dump their belly forward and have excessive curves. So we're going to do that, right? If your tendency is different, maybe you're one of these, okay? We all have a pattern, right? So then we think about bringing the hips back. And usually when we do that, we need to play around with this pelvis. So let's do that actually. Stand in your mountain pose, toes pointing forward. Roll your pelvis forward and back. Feel the two extremes. And then find the Goldilocks zone. Find the just right, where your abdominals are gently engaged, your low back is long, okay? And now let's work on those feet a little. So with your your shoulders melting down your back. Lift your toes, just the toes. Balls of the feet are still on the floor. And separate them and put them down. So with this activation of the feet, you can feel your arches lifting away from the floor. Squeeze the block between your legs. Squeeze it and rotate your legs slightly inward, so like you're trying to pass the block behind you. You have your quads turned on. Now keep everything as it is. You have your feet activated, your quads, your inner thighs, and turn on your butt at the same time. So this is really good for your hips, to be able to use those gluteal muscles without letting the hips go out. Okay, now we're going to inhale the arms up. And exhale, bring them down in front of you, hands together. 2 more times. Good. This time, we're bringing the arms up on the inhale. And we're holding them up, palms facing each other. And we're going to exhale and lean just a little bit to the left. Okay, inhale to center. Exhale, other side. Inhale, center. Exhale, other side. Inhale, center. Exhale, other side. Good. Now, if you want, you can hold, but if you don't want to hold, maybe this feels really uncomfortable for you, you can keep moving side to side. If you're holding, just know this also might be very uncomfortable. We don't like it when things go sideways. It's really important, though, to open up the ribs here. So breathe into those ribs. Okay, and now we'll switch. Other way. Good. All right. Center and hands come down on the exhale. Good. Roll the shoulders a little. They're probably a little bit tight, a little bit tired. Okay. Now, leg work. Yes, we have lots of time left for legs, which is good because everything we've been doing so far is leading up to really working those hamstrings. So I'd like you to have your chair with at least the 2 front feet on your mat. That's so it won't slide around, okay? We're not really using the chair for this first one, though. We're going to do Warrior 2. So Warrior 2 stance, actually we'll start easy. Wide legs, toes pointing forward, okay? Turn your right foot so that your toes are pointing right at the top of your mat. Directly at the top of your mat. Now your heel on your right foot should line up with the arch on your left foot. And you want a wide enough stance that when you bend your knee, the knee is on top of the ankle. If the feet are too close together, it goes too far. So start with your legs straight. I want to bring your attention to your hip activation here. Press into the floor through your left heel. You'll feel that side butt muscle come on, the same one we were using earlier. That's good. We want that. So now, bend your left knee until it's right on top of the ankle and work your left knee towards the side of the mat behind you. You can also help yourself by putting your hand there on the side of the knee and pressing into your hand. So now you've got both hips active in slightly different ways. Pull your belly in. Try to set your shoulders up facing the long edge of your mat. Bring your arms up, palms facing up. Okay, whole body is working here. You can turn your palms facing down, but keep the shoulders externally rotated. Let's try that again. Turn your palms up. Feel the way your shoulders are rolling out. Keep your shoulders there as you turn your palms down. Good. Hips are still on. Good. Okay. And let's take a break. Let's go back into Warrior 2. Activate your hips. Bring up your arms. We'll go into Peaceful Warrior. So your left hand comes down onto your left leg as your right hand comes up. And you can Feel a big, beautiful stretch on the right side of your ribs. Don't lose your bend in the knee, though, on your right leg. Keep working that right knee out towards the back. And now we'll come up. That's a lot of work. Well done, okay? Let's try triangle pose. The only thing you need to change here is the back foot. You want to ooch it forward a little, and then you want to turn the toes in a little. So the right foot is still facing the front of the mat, and we're going to lean over. So you see what I'm doing here? My spine isn't moving at all. It's very straight. Just working the hip for a second here. Now, if you have a low back injury, you want to keep your spine straight here, especially if you have lateral foraminal stenosis. I know you're out there. Okay. So those of us who have a healthy spine can actually use a little bit of a side bend here. And when we add the arm, we're really working that side body. So you're working the side body whether or not you're using that side bend, okay? Even if your spine is straight like this and you're not going very far, bringing that arm up, you're getting some strength there for sure. Now work your right hip, squeeze your right butt, so you're working that right hip forward, work that left hip back, and work your left rib cage back a little into a very small amount of twist. Okay, you're allowed to have a little bend in this knee, that's okay. All right, and we'll come up. Well done. So, next we're gonna do pyramid pose. I wanna have you turn facing forward, toes facing forward, and then heel toe your legs together intentionally. Good job, hips. Okay. So now with the right foot forward, we're facing the chair, left foot back, okay? The left toes are cheated in as much as possible for you to have your foot flat on the floor and to have good engagement through that foot. We're not having the foot roll out to the side or collapse inward, right? And we want that chair within reaching distance, okay? And put your hands on your hips. Make sure those hips are facing the chair squarely. Lift yourself up. Take a breath here. And push into the ball of your foot on your right foot. Lean forward from the hip. Let your right hip shift back as you lean forward. So your hip is going back and your toes, your ball of your foot is pressing into the floor. You're really getting a big hamstring stretch here. We can come back up out of that. Right? Now, for a lot of us, this is plenty to get a really big stretch. You can put your hands on your thighs here and press yourself even taller and longer. Now, sometimes it's possible to come a little bit deeper, keeping that tailbone pointing out, and place a hand on the chair, or both hands on the chair. You can pull through your hands and make yourself really long here. Now this next part, we're going to do this easily. We're going to do it slowly. Pay very close attention, okay? You can take your right hand, put it on your back right hip. Make sure that hip is still reaching long. And you can squeeze that right shoulder behind you. Only if it feels right, okay? This is kind of an advanced move. You can even turn your head to the right. And this is a variation of Revolve Triangle. It's a really challenging pose. So if you're doing this right now, congratulations. If you're taking a break, congratulations for being so conscientious and taking really good care of yourself, okay? All right, so now we're coming back out of this. Just put your hand on the chair for a second, and then both hands on your thigh, bend the knee, we'll come up. And we're ready to do the whole thing on the other side. So you can leave your chair where it is. I'm gonna move mine so that I can, on second thought, I'm not gonna. Yes, I am. Make up your mind, Jeanette. I'm trying to figure out the best way to situate myself so you guys can see me through the whole sequence. Okay, so we started with warrior 2. Legs are wide. Turn your left foot towards the top of your mat. Make sure your legs are far enough apart that when you bend the knee, it's right on top of the ankle, okay? The right toes are pointing right at the long edge of the mat. Shoulders are pointing at the long edge of the mat, okay? And then we're going to bend the knee. Make sure your knee is working its way back so you can really feel that butt working. Engage your right leg. Press into the floor through that right heel. Feel those side butt muscles coming on and lift the arms. Palms facing up. And we'll come out of it. We'll do it again. Hips, belly, hands. So what is your pelvis doing in this pose? Okay, think about that exercise we did in mountain pose where we were tilting the pelvis forward and backward and looking for the middle. Same thing here, neutral pelvis. So in this case, a neutral pelvis might actually feel a little bit tilted back because the tendency in this pose is to want to dump forward. Okay, so keep that in mind. Pull your belly in. Now we're going into peaceful warrior. Still bending that right leg, still working that right knee out towards the pinky toe, still pressing into the floor through the left heel. Good. We'll come out of it. Triangle is next. So work your right foot forward a little and then work those toes in. Okay. Make sure your feet are active. Shoulders facing forward if that's possible. Hands on the hips, get really tall here. Pull the belly in and we'll just move the hip a little before we really go into the pose. Want to make sure those hips are lubricated and moving. And then we can start holding a little. Press in through the ball of your foot and your big toe mound on this front leg. Okay, this front leg has an external rotation happening. This one has an internal. So can you push into the floor through your right heel? And if your spine is healthy, you can do a little bit of a side bend. We can add the arm. Work your right rib cage back. And back of the neck is long. Keeping those front ribs tucked in. Okay, can reach overhead for a really big stretch and contraction at the same time. We're stretching the side and working it. Okay, and then we're going to come up. Well done. Pyramid pose, ready? Face your chair. Lift your toes on that front foot, separate them and put them down. I really want you to get this foot action right because it makes all the difference in this pose, okay? Hips are level with the front of the mat and they stay level and your back stays long as you lean forward. The chin is slightly tucked, the back of the neck is long. So we're pressing into that big toe knuckle, getting a big stretch in the hamstring, coming up. We'll go into it again. So you can choose to keep doing this. This is legit, okay? You can really get a good workout on that hamstring. Or if it feels good and you want to, you can put your hands on the chair. Make sure your back isn't rounding like this in order to get the hands on the chair. If you have to do that to get to the chair, you can either make the chair taller by putting blocks on it, like this, okay? Or you can just skip the chair, right? All right, so lengthening. Now, if you're choosing to do the revolved version here, you're taking your left hand, putting it on the back of your left hip. Make sure that left hip is really reaching back to the foot of your mat. Work that left shoulder blade behind you, not really twisting the spine here. And then turn your head. Okay, untwist the neck, hand comes down onto the chair, bend your knee, back foot comes forward. Let's take the feet wide. So the back is straight here, and we're in a small forward bend with a wide-legged stance. Sometimes this is a good stretch. Sometimes we can bend the knees and make it feel a little better. And sometimes we can bring the elbows down. Get a little deeper and drop the head. Good. Now from here, let's make our way back down to the floor. Don't need the chair anymore. Make your way onto your back. Slowly, easily. Let's see. You know, once you get on the floor, grab onto the sides of your mat and lengthen yourself out. Okay. You can bring your knees in towards you. Rock side to side. Okay. And let's try happy baby. We're going to start with one leg. So bring your right leg up towards you and reach from inside your leg. Wrap your hand around to the outer side of your foot. Okay. And breath here. You can even lengthen out your opposite leg if that feels good to you. If you have an SI joint instability, then stretching out your leg, you might want to skip that. Okay, we're going to bring that leg back up. Put the right foot down, switch sides. So the left foot comes up, grab onto your left foot. And either keep your right foot where it is or stretch out the right leg. Good. Bring that right foot back up onto the mat. Put the left foot down. Let's do one last stretch here. We're going to stretch the glutes. So cross your right ankle over your left thigh. And some of us just like to push. That can give a really good stretch. Others like to pull that leg in like this. Okay. And still others, because you have so many options, some people like to do it like this. It's all about what feels good. So as you lay here doing your final stretch, I would like to invite you to reflect on today's yoga class, and maybe you learned something new about your body today. Maybe your body gave you a message and you heard it and you were able to respond. So congratulate yourself and let yourself know that that's your intention from now on. I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to do what I need to do to keep my body happy. Because when my body's happy, I get to enjoy my life, right? Just a few more breaths and then we'll go into final rest. Good. So putting that right foot down, uncrossing the legs, Now you have the option of bringing your chair back for this. You can put your legs on the chair. Or you can keep your knees bent. Or you can stretch your legs out on the floor. Let your arms rest on the floor, palms facing up. Tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. And we have 2 minutes to rest here. It's just 2 minutes. If you're tempted to fast forward the video or to just jump up off your mat and continue with your day, think about it a second time, because this is the point where your nervous system gets to integrate all the new patterns that you're training into it. This is when your muscles get to release the tension that has been building through your yoga practice. Your brain gets to reset. If the mind is already wandering to the to-do list that's coming up next, just remind yourself gently, I only need 1 more minute. Just 1 more minute. Okay. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring the soles of your feet onto the mat. And when you're ready, roll over onto your side. And we'll stay here on the side just for 1 full breath. And then we'll come up to a comfortable seated position on your mat, on your blanket, on your chair, on your couch. My back's feeling pretty good today, so I'll stay on the floor. I do like to sit on a blanket though. And I like to take just a few seconds at the end of every class to give gratitude. I'm really grateful to be doing what I love, contributing to a healthier planet by helping the people on it with their bodies. And I am grateful to you for being here, either those of you who are watching now or those who will watch later. Thank you from my heart to yours. Have a fantastic day.